over 150 nationalities who work for our hospitals. I love this fact. An ODP and anaesthetic walks 7 miles a day, possibly down the NGH corridor. For those of you who've trekked from one end to the other, it's about a mile long. And we have 7,000 babies born across Kettering and Northampton. Massive number. Our hospital estate is the equivalent of 65 football pitches. Again, I would reference the corridor at NGH, which is, I think, the longest corridor in Europe in a hospital. Don't quote me. And we have lots and lots of different assets across the organisation as well. We see over 1 million visitors per year across the 2 sites. And we've actually got other sites that we also use as well. It's not just Kettering and Northampton. We have outpatient services at Daintree, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other centres that we've opened over the last year as well. So working together, we've got unified leadership now, as most people in this organisation in this room will hopefully know. So we're now recruited one executive team, of which I am the chief executive, and Andrew is our chair. And we've also consulted and put in place a leadership team in the layer beneath the executive as well over the last 6 months. So people are working across site, and it was really good to hear some of the developments that you guys are planning in research. This is about working in collaboration, learning from one another, making sure that we can provide care across Northamptonshire in the best possible way. And I'm really pleased to do that because I'm a local resident and I really want care in Northamptonshire to be fantastic, wherever you live, whether you're in the north, south, west or east of the county. We're also working with Leicester in terms of a group model, and our group chief executive is Richard Mitchell. I think it's also really important that we recognise we don't just work in a vacuum. So we work with social care partners, we work with the ICB colleagues and the region to provide care. It isn't just an island of acute hospitals, we've really got to remember. And the prevention angle of the talk was so good because actually it really reminds us that it's not just about what we're doing in hospital, it's also about trying to keep people out of hospital if we can, because it's not the best place for them. But also working with partners to try and get patients out of hospital when appropriate. So there's lots and lots and lots of stuff on this slide. I'm going to leave it up for a second, but there's a couple of things I would just highlight. I think KGH in particular has done so well on its urgent emergency care processes this year. They really have developed the strategies, and actually their performance against the 4-hour standard is really, really very good. We know that we have a challenged UEC pathway, so that's urgent and emergency care. We know that that's an area that patients most complain about, and we know that both sites are probably not big enough in terms of their emergency departments. But even with the estate that we've got, the teams are doing a really good job. And we've also got some really good outcomes in cancer care as well, with really good 18-week and 52-week performance. And again, when you're in my job, you can sort of see these as figures on a spreadsheet, you know, what you're doing with your 52 weeks, what you're doing with your 18-week patients. These are patients waiting for treatment. This really matters to patients. It really matters how long it takes to get an appointment to see a doctor. It really matters to patients how long it takes to get surgery. We've also been the first hospital to implant next generation leadless pacemakers, which are really popular with patients. And we've got a lot of staff, one of whom is here today, who I won't mention because I might embarrass her. We've got 192 staff this week who are being honoured, who've got 5,570 years service between them. That is incredible. We've got 2 members of staff who reached their 50-year anniversary, one of whom is in the room today. And frankly, I'd like to give her a little round of applause if that's all right, Liz. An amazing level of dedication to the NHS and to the people of Northamptonshire. Like, we should be so proud of you. And I think a lot of the staff who stayed here for a really long time deserve that recognition. So there's 3 shifts in the 10-year plan. I don't think everybody in this room will have read the 10-year plan. Can anyone put their hands up if they've read every single page of it? Oh, wow. Maybe you could give us 3 of you all on the same row. Very interesting. Have read the whole of the 10-year plan. We'll be quizzing you all on it later. But there are 3 shifts. Again, the presentations that we had at the start were really in line with some of the thinking nationally. So moving care from hospitals to local communities, preventing illnesses, not just treating it, and releasing the potential of digital technology. We opened Kings Heath Community Diagnostic Centre in November 2024. We've got lots of additional scans going through that centre, including MR, CT, echo. Again, these are really good tools for patients to be able to get diagnosed earlier, quicker, and then get access to the care that they need. And I'm really pleased that we have launched part of Nerve Centre, our electronic patient record, in June at NGH. The next half of that implementation will come next year, but I think it's a really big step forward. One of the things that we do need to concentrate on on both hospital sites is enabling more digital transformation, because I think that's the future. We're also using how we explore AI to enhance the way we deliver care. So we've got doctors using AI in clinics, etc., to write letters. And you may, if you go and visit your GP, you may see GPs also using that technology as well. We're also delivering robotic surgery at both NGH and KGH. That's another development over the last year. So looking to the future, we've started work on the new energy centre at KGH. So if you go down the hill near the treatment centre, you will see a big hole with a tractor in it. That is where the energy centre is going to be. It's just where the boilers are. That will get rid of all of our temporary steam boilers. Now, this is a very unique and specific topic to be talking about, but it's so important in hospitals. It's all that back office stuff that you forget that you need. You need boilers. You need a way to heat the hospital. We need a way of cooling the hospital. And actually the infrastructure at Kettering is one of the things that we've really got to address. This is the first step. We're also opening the Maggie's unit at NGH, which is probably going to open in October or November of this year. Don't quote me on a date. And we've also going to open a new urgent treatment centre at NGH, which will open next year at some point. We're also opening a new enhanced ambulance bay before winter on this site. In terms of the Rockingham Wing extension, we're going to build a new state-of-the-art extension to the maternity unit, and we've already opened one of the wards in the Rockingham Centre so that mums do not have to be transferred to temporary accommodation anymore following the RAC. And we're also working with West Northamptonshire to improve mortuary facilities, so there'll be a county-wide mortuary from next year. So Andrew's already touched on these, and this is my last but one slide. We've got 3 priorities for this year: transforming patient care, delivering our financial plan, and strengthening our culture. There's lots of words on here, but essentially those 3 things are the things that we really think are important for the hospitals. We can't do everything, and we need to make sure that you guys have the environment that you need to be able to do your work effectively. There's lots and lots of work still to do here, but I can absolutely see green shoots, and it's been really lovely to come and present to all of you today. I'm now going to hand over to Sarah, who has to present the annual accounts. It's a formal part of the APM, and then we'll have questions from the audience. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll hand over to Sarah.
So, as Laura says, annual accounts. Our annual accounts are 2 sets, both over 50 pages long. I'm not going to put 50 pages up on screen. We'll do the headlines as to what are the financial outcomes of our organisations, what is the financial context, and then I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the really good stuff that we've done with our money over the past year. Our 2 trusts turnover, i.e. get income into both of our organisations, of just under £1 billion. That's grown over the past year by somewhere in the region of 9% across both sites. Northampton is slightly bigger than Kettering from both a site point of view and from an income point of view. 11,500 colleagues across both of our sites. We spend over £1 million a day in both hospitals, so £2 million a day across Northamptonshire, 2 and a bit actually, in terms of providing healthcare to our local population. And our finance and procurement teams pay somewhere in the region of 70,000 invoices a year. So just to give you a bit of a view of kind of scope and size of the financial operations of UHN. The financial context is really challenging at the moment within the NHS, and 24/5, the year just closed, is no different. Kettering and Northampton both ended the year with a deficit of expenditure over income, so both trusts spent more than the income that we were given. Kettering by 12.9 million and Northampton by 17. That was in line with an agreed position with our regulator, and it was delivered at the year end in line with the conversations that we had with them. But our organisations are challenged financially. Financial sustainability, both Andrew and Laura have talked about, and it's really important as we move forward in terms of making our organisations sustainable. What have we done with our money? Laura's talked about some of this in terms of some of the things we've done, but Kettering operates with about £204 million worth of assets. So our buildings, our medical equipment, the things that we own, the buildings you're sitting in, £200 million worth roughly at Kettering. We'll come on to Northampton in a second. And last year we spent £33.2 million worth of capital across the Kettering site in terms of digital, our community diagnostic centre in Corby, the energy centre that we've already talked about, and significant replacement of both infrastructure and equipment. We recognise that there's a lot more to do, and both trusts have got significant capital investment plans into the future, and we've talked about those. The figures at Northampton slightly higher, so NGH operates with about £260 million worth of assets. Again, that's the cost of our buildings, our medical equipment across both sites, and capital investment of £31 million. The Kettering figure is slightly higher because Kettering part of the new hospitals programme and attracted some quite significant national infrastructure money, particularly to support the RAC issues on the site. And again, we've spent that in the community diagnostic centres that we opened at Kings Heath and the run up to the Northampton one. We've invested 10+ million in terms of our estate. And again, a significant digital programme on the Northamptonshire site as well. And we've talked about the first stage of Nerve Central already. Our accounts themselves are audited, so somebody's checked my homework and they've told us it's okay. So both sets of accounts, Northampton's accounts and Kettering, are audited by Grant Thornton, our auditors. They were both submitted in line with the national deadline to our regulators. Kettering's will also be laid in front of Parliament. And they both have unqualified audit opinions from Grant Thornton. So they have been through with a fine-tooth comb. My team will report to you in terms of all the accounting that we've done over the year to make sure that the figures we present to you today are accurate. The National Audit Office also check the auditor's homework. An awful lot of double checking in this space. And the NAO have a role as the financial auditor of central government. So when our accounts are collated with everybody else's, the National Audit Office give us a view. And again, that's a positive one. They have the unenviable task of dragging all the public sector accounts together and checking those values. Before I come on to this slide, I just want to talk briefly about value for money. So Grant Thornton do two things. They audit our accounts. They also give us what's called a value for money opinion. So they look at both of our hospitals in terms of three things. They look at governance, they look at efficiency, and they look at financial planning. Both trusts have significant risks highlighted by our auditors from a financial planning point of view. It's fair to say that's pretty common across most NHS organisations from a 24/5 point of view, and is in essence the context that we've talked about that we will all be aware of. The NHS's demand is growing significantly, its funding is not growing at the same pace, and so from a financial planning point of view, some challenges across our organisations in terms of robust medium-term planning. Kettering had a significant financial risk on reporting in the year 23-24. The really good news for Grant Thornton is they have de-escalated that risk. So they are confident that our financial reporting and governance at Kettering are significantly improved over last year. No significant concerns have been escalated over Northampton. And in terms of our efficiency, again, no significant issues of financial efficiency raised across either site. So I just come on to our my last slide before we open kind of to questions. Between them saved just under £40 million in last financial year. So how did we do that? We renegotiated contracts, we looked at our medicine spend, We looked at our staffing in terms of temporary staffing. We've made some real efforts in productivity. And the trusts have taken out, as I say, £40 million over the past year. Target for this year is 85, just to give you a view in terms of the increasing difficulty of the financial context. But a positive story in terms of the organisation coming together and delivering efficiency in what is a really difficult context. That's all I'm going to say from an accounts point of view. And I think now I'm opening the floor to questions. Andrew.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as Sarah said, we now move to questions. We've had a few questions submitted in advance, so we'll deal with those now. The first one is, how many spaces will be created by the multi-storey at KGH, and will it create additional congestion? And our resident expert on that is Susie. So Susie, would you mind answering that?
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Susie, Director of Communications and Engagement. So the multi-storey at Kettering is only going to create around 50 spaces. It's more being created so that we can build on the car parking that it will for part of the new hospital programme, when we can continue to build that. In terms of congestion, we actually think it will solve some of the congestion issues, because we're going to be building a slip road into the multi-storey car park that will mean easier access and exit from the site. So hopefully it will help that a little bit.
Thank you. And just to continue on from that, how many people are being encouraged to use alternative modes of transport?
So we're doing a number of things to encourage people to use different modes of transport, and this will continue obviously as we continue progressing through our work. One of the things I wanted to highlight is extra cycle spaces that we're going to be having across the site, where we're going to be, I think there's around 124 extra cycle spaces, and also easy access for our colleagues to get shower facilities. So if they are cycling into work, they can feel fresh before they start their day as well.
Okay, thank you, Susie. And just one more. And that is on the Rockingham Wing development. What are the current and future actions?
So we've been doing quite a lot of community consultation about the Rockingham Wing, because we're building quite close to resident houses. So we've been speaking to stakeholders and the residents in those areas. We're now in a position where we've submitted the planning application to build the extension, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to start building in March next year, with remedial works in January. And just to point out that the designs were actually influenced by the consultation that we did with residents as well. So the new designs that have gone in have had their input.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. That is it for the submitted questions. You'll be pleased to know. So we now can throw questions out to the floor. We have some roving mics. So if I could ask people, if they have questions, if they put their hand up, we'll get a mic to you, and then everybody can hear your question. So any questions? This is the first time I've done this. It was obviously such a good presentation that we answered everything during the presentations. David, yeah, thank you. I knew you'd save the day.
A couple of questions, really. The first one is with regards to the research. It was a very impressive presentation. I'm just curious as to what the plans are in terms of rolling that out, and whether you're looking at using the same. Right. And the second question is back on transport. There are other sites being used. And the fact that we have very poor public is actually causing a problem for people who are attending those sites. So I just wanted to raise that.
All right, thank you. Well, let's deal with the research question first. AJ, do you want to take that?
Yeah, thank you for that question. With the collaboration and future merger of the organisations, it opens up a whole new world of opportunities. I think Roshan has alluded to that in terms of some of the work we can do together. The power of two versus one, two teams becoming one bigger team is obviously clear. And you're right that those opportunities will open up into working across the community and also with other stakeholders. We work very closely with our friends and colleagues up in Leicester. The Colour Prevent Studies, a University of Leicester study, said there's a whole world of opportunity. There's partnerships now around commercial delivery of research, which we're part of. And with the UHN stakeholders as well. So absolutely, the doors are opening. Time, nothing's ever quick, as we know, but as you say, you've got people like myself and Roshan and several colleagues within the teams that will drive this forward, and we will be able to deliver. We've got a lofty ambition. I want every department across both hospitals to have a study open, so that potentially patients have access to that, because we have some very strong departments and we have some departments who haven't explored that journey yet. So that's what we will aim for. We will push for that. And since COVID, we have actually, COVID has changed the world in a way. The research delivered around COVID got us out of lockdowns, got vaccine programs going, so that we reinvigorated the concept and the power of research. And so, for instance, at Kettering, intensive care services, respiratory services and emergency department are now delivering high quality research. They didn't have a reputation for doing that before. And this is mirrored across both sites, and we will continue to deliver that.
Thanks very much, AJ. That's brilliant. And some fantastic work taking place. So thank you. And Laura, could you take the transport question, please?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. Can everyone hear me? So I would agree. I live in a rural community, and actually there's one bus to my village per week. I think you're supposed to get the bus and then get it the next week back, maybe. But there's lots of that's a joke, but it's not a joke, because for patients who are unable to drive, that is actually quite isolating. One of the roles of the hospital is to have that conversation with the local councils who are responsible for bus routes and all those sorts of things. And I'm sure there's more that we can do in this area. I am conscious that we do have lots of patients who live not in Kettering, not in Northampton, and that is difficult. That's one of the reasons actually why things like the Corby CDC are so important, because the number of patients who say they walk from Corby to the CDC, you wouldn't believe there's lots and lots of patients who walk to that service. So having those kind of community access hubs is really, really important, and trying to provide care locally as well is really important, which again is why I think actually we need to probably shift, if we're honest, some of our outpatient activity from the main hospital sites into the community. So points well noted, and I think we probably need to have a further conversation with our council colleagues.
Thanks very much, Laura. Any other questions? Okay, well, look, if there are no further questions, first of all, thank you very much to everyone for coming this evening. It's always good to see you all, and it puts us on our mettle. We make sure we prepare for these presentations as well. So thank you very much. These sessions are really important. So I'd like to wish you a safe journey home and a peaceful evening. Thank you very much.